The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Robbie, would you like to call roll? Sure, looks like everyone's here. Bridget, Brandon, Ryan, Laura, and Brent. Well, thank you. Welcome to our regularly scheduled August board meeting. We are recording as required by state law. And I just want to note for the record that our previous meeting, July 22nd, which was held via Zoom, was not recorded. The minutes of that meeting will be approved tonight and will be available for anyone who's interested on the district's website. With that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on. There will be the opportunity for public comment on any agenda item. And that will work by, I will call for it basically after we have a motion and a second from the board. There will be the opportunity for trustees to have any discussion, and then there would be an opportunity for public comment. If there's any comment on any item that's not on our agenda tonight, the time for that is right now. Do we have any public comment this evening? I don't have anything. Anyone else? Go ahead and to move on to communication and reports. Shauna, would you like to begin?
Sure. Well, we're excited to be back and welcome back. So I want to update you on our kindergarten enrollment numbers. We're up to 51 kindergartners. We're so excited. So tomorrow is our last day of kindergarten readiness program that's been going, and it has been really successful. We've had consistent 30 students attending it, and they're really getting, comfortable here in our environment and getting to know their way around the school and really making some growth. So it's been fun to have them the last few weeks. PTSA is working on assemble the parts of our benches are here. They're working on assembling them and getting those installed. So that should be within the next couple weeks or so, getting those in. Just a reminder, there's just a couple on the playground that are going out there, and then a couple outdoor seating, like big picnic kind of style benches that'll be in the outdoor learning area. So just another big thank you to PTSA for donation and hard work. I know I've been busy, Carrie and I, all of us here have been busy getting ready for our upcoming staff PIR days and getting those planned out, as well as the open house. And I just want to take a note to remind everybody that we're adding back in that a separate kindergarten open house this year, like we've done in the past. It's a more structured open house for those families as they're just entering their school system. So any questions on my report? Pretty brief. Yeah. Questions for Shauna? Okay. Thanks, Shauna. Gary, would you like to go next?
Sure. Not a whole lot of things to add. Kind of just starting to get in the trenches. Couple quick things about sports. Currently just finalizing our sports schedules, which in the fall we have 6 through 8 co-ed soccer, which just putting it out there. If there's anybody, if you guys know of anybody that would be willing to coach soccer, we're looking for soccer coaches. We're short of soccer coaches. So again, soccer coaches. I'm just kidding. So yeah, we're just struggling to find some staffing for that. And then volleyball is the other 7th and 8th grade girls. Volleyball is our other sport. So we're excited to start that. And it's always a mad dash because it's right at the beginning of the school year. It's the way the scheduling happens. And then just Shauna and I were able to hit some training last week. It was called the Principals Academy. Thanks to the district for allowing us to attend it. It was just a great opportunity to just get freshened up on all of the law sorts of things and just things that could kind of get you in some trouble over the year. But just like with our lawyers, and it was really, really great. But thank you. And it also allows us an opportunity to connect with other principals that are in the area. So thanks for that. And just another shout out of just needing some more support staff. So you guys know of anybody out there. We're really short on support staff. That's all I have. Questions for Carrie?
Thank you. Robbie, would you like to do your report? I was so busy with my PFS and budget finishing it up, I didn't pull the report for the to-date expenditures, and I don't even have the budget approved to be in there yet, so. So I have time to get those reports done. Perfect, okay. And Dale, we will move on to you.
All right, sounds good. A lot of what I will yammer about this evening is our agenda items and a few things that aren't, and you may have questions, because I forgot to mention something earlier. So, I had said earlier that we got our accreditation status in late July, or mid-July, and we did really, really well on everything except in one area. And unfortunately, that one area, those criteria where if you don't, you can't, your overall score can't be higher than that score. No matter how well you do or your average or anything else, you can't go higher than this, kind of like a governor. And you just, by how much gas you try and push in it, it'll only go this high, no matter how much you possibly could. So I believe that our score was in error, just because the amount of data, it was the use of student data, achievement improvement score, and they gave us a needs improvement on that. So I went back and reviewed what the principals and their teacher teams have put together as far as how they're using data and what they're doing, and looking at it over the course of the year, and I went, you know, this is not right. So I did file an appeal just this past in the last handful of days, and we are among probably 30 schools across the state, maybe more. That was before the deadline was Monday. I must have done it last week, and then yeah, there were 30 at the time. So we'll see how many more want to jump onto that for a variety of reasons. Some of it was we don't think we were scored right. There's a lot of rumblings going on across the state right now about the accreditation process. This was our first year with the new process, so it's no small wonder that things are a little shaky right now. The biggest overall complaint is the fact that the rubrics, it's good that they've got a rubric, right? They are inherently designed a little bit differently than the law is worded, which kind of creates a conflict. So the law is worded like you have to do these things, meet these criteria. It's essentially pass or fail, right? Administrative rule says schools have to do these things. Okay, but the grading criteria are a lot more subjective, and it's meets goals or exceeds goals or almost meeting goals. And you're like, well, did we pass or not? You know, so I think there's going to be some rearrangement of that because OPI is getting a lot of heat from schools on the subjectivity of what should be a very objective pass or fail for each criteria, either meet it or you don't, right? The law doesn't contemplate a grading of how close you might be to that. You either do it or not. But we were graded in a different way this past year. So at any rate, accreditation is a bit of a mess right now. So working with them, I'm not concerned at all about one, our low score, or two, the work that our teachers and staff are doing here with our kids at all. The rest of our scores are great. So a little bit on that. Any questions on accreditation? Just holler at me if you want me to stop. As I let you know, earlier in the year or early in the summer, a couple of times, I've been looking at some estimates for partially contracting out some of our janitorial work. And that's been a topic of conversation for several years. In fact, we tried it at the old school during COVID for a while, and it worked okay. Everybody was struggling during COVID, so that wasn't a perfect situation. And then we actually were able to get some staff and start our year here with essentially a full crew, which was great. But then over the summer, 2 of our 4 maintenance people gave notice that they were leaving at the end of summer. So that their timing on that is actually very good in that it gave me some time to say, okay, let's evaluate this. We've never had a chance to really look at, is this a good idea or not? So I actually kind of handed this project off to Kathy in a lot of ways. She's been running with it, and it's been very, very good. We've collected estimates from 6 outfits, and we needed it to be below the bid threshold because that was kind of the same place as the budget number we were holding, so we were hoping to save money. If it came back way higher, then we were just gonna scrap the whole thing. But the numbers came back favorable, and Kathy and I came up with, here's the list of things we would like to see, and basically the checklist of what we want you to do. Walk them through the areas that we wanted to clean, just the 3 classroom wings, A wing, D1, and D2. Our in-house staff would still take care of the commons, the kitchen, gymnasiums, music, and band. Okay, so we're basically farming out the classroom wings. And we had 2 that were very close as the most favorable financially, although one, the numbers don't quite add up, and there's a lot of wiggle room, and I can adjust this up or down, and I wasn't comfortable with that when the next lowest didn't say anything about adjustments. This is my fee, and it was only a couple $1,000s more for the entire year. Like that seems like a much better operation. So later this week, we're gonna call them and make sure everything is still good on their end and get them engaged to start on the first day of school. And it'll actually end up saving us a little bit of money overall, general fund wise. It'll save money that we don't necessarily see general fund wise from the retirement fund and those sorts of things, because you're not paying that in, but those are permissibly levied. But a couple less people is a little bit less being drawn from that tax base. So there's some savings in there. Oh, I should have mentioned as well. By law or by procedure, I did start before I did any of that with the vendors. Started with it by meeting with the Lolo Classified Association, considering those would have been their employees. They have a legal right to file a hell of a grievance against us if we just went ahead and farmed out some work that could have been theirs, but they recognized instantly. I almost didn't have that bring it up. They said, you're gonna get some people that do this work, right? We can't. They were very happy to say, please, if you can find someone to do this work and it's a good financial move for the district, please proceed. So I'm sure I'll have, now that we've got that number and we're gonna engage with the vendor, I'll have to get something right and put it in review with the LCA, but I'm not worried about that going backwards at this point. So that's good news. Lots and lots of work going on with warranty items, wish list items. Oh, by the way, Brent, you had asked about the warranty list. I got access to a static version. It's not complete because some things have already been checked off and they're not on there, but I can send that to you. I got that just the other day and I forgot to forward it on. Sorry about that, but I got it. Anyway, lots of warranty work going on. We're also added some scope that Jackson is coordinating for us, like the front parking or the front crosswalk area. Figure out the things inside the building. I've listed them a number of times and I'm glad to talk about it. There's lots of activity going on, and there will still be activity going on once school starts. It just, no matter how hard we try, starting in May, we still can't quite get everything done by the time school starts. But it's happening. I asked Jackson yesterday, I said, what's the possibility of I call it the steerage out front, so we can drive people to the crossing. He said, talk to them yesterday and they know that your deadline is the 27th of August, but okay, it's like 11 days from now. And it'll probably only take them a day and a half to do the work, honestly, but still need them to show up. So if it's not on the first day, we really did try, but it is going to get done. All those things are going to happen. They're putting up wall protection. You can see a little bit of it if you look down that corridor there, 4 feet down to the river base. We've got that wall protection going up in the main corridor areas. Our sheetrock was already getting pretty well beat up, just from kids rubbing and bumping and doing what they do. Nobody being particularly naughty most of the time. So hopefully that'll help. We also got additional corner guards in the main areas where we hadn't had those before. So there's a lot of visible things, and there's some stuff that's less exciting. Like they're working on, why do we still have a few lakes out on the soccer field? So open line, what's going on? We're not putting that much water on spring years. I mean, it's a lot, but we have puddling going on. So they've got, that's all quarantine, and it's all on the list. So they're working on getting that identified, corrected, those sorts of things. Another one you might notice, because it's a little more visible, is we got the window film applied to the lower windows on the A-wing classrooms out front. That's the film that on the bottom pane makes it less easy to see in, and it obscures what a person just walking by the sidewalk or driving by the parking lot can see in, but the user can still see out, which looks like sunglasses. So when it's very dark outside, very bright inside, that stuff won't work as well, but it's one of those things that was on the safety audit that we got in the Safe School Center, and that was a pretty inexpensive improvement to make. We also got these lower panes right here frosted to reduce the amount of distraction from people walking through here, which is all day long, and people having class in the gyms, which is all day long. So we'll still get the natural light and everything, but a little less nose on the glass distraction. So hopefully that works out better for everybody. We did lose another staff member to MCPS just yesterday, and that puts us in a tough position teaching wise. So we're moving as quickly as we are able to move on that. That's a tough one. So we will see. And we are in contract with the Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch for CSCT services. Western Montana Mental Health has been good to us over the years. They've been a little more challenging to work with in the last couple of years, and including the way I perceive that they deal with their own staff and the way they're able to serve or not serve our population in ways that we expect. So this upcoming year, we're going to go with Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch, and we're anticipating better result with that change. Also, Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch will, the cost sharing will be the same as it was this past year with Western Montana Mental Health, and it's pretty standard. Whereas Western Montana Mental Health is going to increase our rate 12% or something like that. So from a financial standpoint, it's better as well. Lots of other stuff going on. Other questions for me? About any of the work that's going on or anything? Our dirt piles getting smaller and smaller, although it doesn't really look smaller and smaller.
I had one question, if I could go back to the accreditation
Yeah.
piece, just if while the appeal is pending and whatever the outcome of that might be, are there any like immediate consequences to that needs improvement score from like a funding? Trying to think of various consequences, recruitment and retention.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There are, doesn't mean somebody couldn't find out or notice or ask questions about it, but there's no financial penalty. We're not in the doghouse per se. It puts us in a status where if that were to continue, we would have a problem, and OPI would be down our throats about it. But we're either going to get it corrected or see what happens this coming year, do whatever they show, whatever they need us to show that we're already doing, so that we can get out of that status moving forward. But no, there's no real penalty.
I have one more question about YBGR. I was just curious if they will be up and running and have a presence in the school, like at the start of the school year, or if there's like a transition period for them to.
That's their intention. They are recruiting staff right now, and because they're letting us know that they're recruiting staff right now. So I think it's based on how quickly they can get staff going, but we gave them the green light back in July. So they've been, they're trying to get up and running. So I don't have a solid answer for you because we haven't worked with them yet, but they keep sending us names of people that they want to hire and bring on board. So I expect that they'll have some, they may not be fully staffed yet. It could be that they only have one team and they're trying to have two or something like that. But I expect that to have a presence here on day one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we really hope so. It'll probably be mostly new folks, is my guess. But we're not actually hiring the bottom for that, so.
Any other questions for Dale?
I'll make it at the end of my report.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Then we will move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of lots of expenditures, disposal of some items, an appointment for Dale to the Joint Advisory Board, an interlocal agreement with the Missoula Area Education Co-op, and several resignations.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any comments or questions from trustees? In the public? All those in favor? Aye. And we will jump into ESER 1, 2, 3, safe reopening the operation plan.
This should be mine. This should look awfully familiar. Been seeing this now, I think for 2.5 years. This might be the last time we have to do it, or we have to do it one more time because the grant period ends on September 30th. Everything having to be liquidated, I think 60 days after that. So we are required to solicit public input on the safe reopening and operations plan. I honestly don't see the relevance of most of what's in there right now. It was particularly relevant when we started this, but at any rate, certainly want to invite any comments or input from the board or public on this. We do this as a formality every 6 months, but I also mention this from time to time at the council meetings to really give people a chance if they have anything to say. And generally, people don't. Sometimes some questions, but yeah, I can pull up the exhibit if you'd like, and you can go through any parts of it. I updated a few little items for this current school year, but again, a lot of it is kind of fallen off the relevance. Thank you. Time, please.
Okay, any questions for Dale? Comments about the reopening plan?
What's worth, we're down to about $4,000. We won't have our instant now it's 30th on stuff that's within the RPESR funding package. That's out of 1.8 million or so between all the ESSERs combined. So I think we've been doing a really good job of spending it down where we need to be and projecting that out. We're down to a few $1,000 right now. I feel like we're in really good shape.
It looks like we can move on then to facility use agreement for the Boys and Girls Club. Dale, would you like to take that one as well?
Sure. This is largely very much a repeat of last year's letter. We had a pretty good experience last year. There isn't a perfect experience, but we had a pretty good experience with the Boys and Girls Club last year, and recommend that we do the same thing again. And if we have the ability to expand, of course, we can revisit that.
I'll make a motion to approve the facility use agreement as presented.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from trustees?
Question.
Yep.
We made the comment, if we have the ability to expand, what does that mean?
If we can offer other spaces after school. So right now they're using the music room. They start in commons and then they use the music room as well. And we've been pretty flexible with extended use of the commons when we don't have events in here, because it's a nice space, right? So if we were able to access a classroom that wouldn't disrupt a teacher's after school activities or something like that. If that becomes the case, I'd be willing to look at an additional space that would give them additional capacity. Because we just recognize that there's a need here, but we also haven't had a lot of interest from our teaching staff when we mentioned it. Who wants the Boys and Girls Club in their room after school? That's still kind of not real exciting for most of our staff, but I'm still not interested in pushing that on them. It's disruptive, there's no doubt about it. But if we could find a space that isn't disruptive, that would allow them to increase their capacity to meet our community's needs, certainly would look at that.
Yeah, getting back to the need part of that, like last year, I know, and every year we've struggled with this group, and I checked in with you a few different times last year, and I never received any bad reports. And I certainly know that it came back to the need part of it, that there's several community members wondering when they can and how the process works and if the school can allow more. I certainly understand the teacher's point of view as well, but you know, it's also the public is paid for the structure. It's a huge structure and a lot of space. Are we occupying every single classroom right now currently?
No, and that's what we're looking at. In fact, I was just in say, we were just talking about that yesterday.
Sure.
I'll make that, if that's something that we can make work. I just didn't have time to put it on this, but
Mhm.
we're already talking about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, like I feel like if we were having some issues with the program, and of course, we will always reserve our right to protect the structure and all that, but I encourage you to expand the 25 individuals.
Is there an estimation on the number of kids on the waiting list that would attend if capacity allowed?
Well, Kendra's right here.
Am I able to ask?
It's okay with the board chair, you can ask her directly.
Ask direct. I was just curious what the size of that wait list is.
Well, historically, we've served, up to like 45 individuals, and I think we could probably get close to that if folks knew that, we were able to serve more. We fully filled up our space in the first day. And I don't have a number right now, sorry, on like how many are in our wait list, but I'm receiving calls and requests every day, including just today, a family of 9 kids, seeing if we could find space for them. And they're aware right now, we only have 1 room available, so I do think there's capacity to comfortably fill at least 15 more slots, really quickly.
What was the ratios as far as the 10-to-1 student to staff? I know that there's been issues with that in the previous years. Is that?
Yep, that's,
that going well?
that's the ratio we're maintaining. It's going well. And also just with the music room and with this space, we're keeping with that cap of 25 kids. So we'll be able to hit that ratio really easily.
And those ratios would still stay in effect if they expanded this?
Yeah, we're ready to double the staff if we had the space as far as paying them and having those employees ready to be trained and done.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions from trustees? From the public? Any idea when you would know about additional space? The first week of school or before?
Not the agenda item, but we can talk afterwards.
Okay, that's it. All those in favor?
Aye.
We will move on to our fiscal year 2023 audit reports. I'm assuming. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right over the MOU for the Missoula County Sheriff. Let's go ahead and do that.
This is very much like the MOU we had in the past. Sergeant Linkety, who oversees the SRO program, as well as everything that the sheriff's office sent this to me a couple weeks ago. I asked that we consider it again, and it again just kind of defines some baselines and relationships as far as, you know, who owns the SRO and what the school's role is and those sorts of things. As I mentioned in my update to you, there's talk about a more unified MOU coming out to schools, because the one that the county uses looks different than the one the city PD uses or the city schools. So in the event of craziness, bad situations, those relationships might have some intricacies that are different, and it might be beneficial to Missoula area schools and law enforcement to have more consistent MOUs. But for the time being, this is perfectly sufficient to get us by and make sure we've got an SRO on the first day of school. So if there's a change, then we'll fix this one and move on to an updated one. I wouldn't hold you to my breath. The first MOU that came from the sheriff's office was 3.5 years after we got our first SRO. So that it could be a minute.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll make a motion to approve the SRO MOU PQ as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from trustees?
Maybe just a comment, you know, I think that this program is a very vital part of this school system and a needed thing for the whole school. So whatever, I feel like whatever the board can do to support it, I think we need to make that effort. So glad to see it again, so.
Other comments or questions from trustees? From the public? All those in favor?
Right?
Okay, now we can jump on to our audit for fiscal year. Skip it if you want. You're up. The thing that stresses me out the most. We talked about it briefly after they came in and did the audit this year, but now we actually finally, months later, from January, have the report. Stresses me out because I always want it clean and it's not clean. There are findings on there. There was a finding for the report not being derived from the accounting report. There was a few things that made that one come up. There was a JV that the county posted twice, but only in our system once. They talked about the clearing funds not being balanced, which is also another finding on here. They talked about the cafeteria flex fund. That one kind of irritates me because they set that up a couple of years ago with our flex and our dental. And then this last year, they decided that dental needed to be separate from that, so. That. The cash balancing, clearing, fund not balancing, that's been rolling for a few years and I've been trying to work with the county on getting that cleared. The county auditors didn't like that all the schools could get into their system and get our reports, so they shut that off over a year ago, and they're not always speedy about getting that back. I've worked on it, we haven't been able to find it. The auditor found one piece that was a TRS payment. And we fixed that. I have a stack of paper like this big in my office trying to find it, so I am trying to do it, and that part is really driving me crazy that that part's not fixed. Encumbrances for the building. So a big part of that was I should have encumbered a year ago, June, the Jackson invoice, but I didn't have it. So it didn't get encumbered,
Till the next fiscal year.
right? Due from other governments, one of them was put in, like when I keyed it in the wrong year, so I had entered it as in the wrong year. So I need to pay close attention to that. And then the construction in progress didn't have the right, I keep a spreadsheet, but it didn't have the right number that was reported on the TFS. And it was partially due to, I had a column for Fund 160, which is the building fund, but then we paid for some things out of general fund and we paid for some things out of Fund 115. That didn't all tie together. I did talk to the auditor about this for quite a while, just because it didn't set well with me, and he assured me he had no worries in it. A lot of it tied to the business or the building and just being so busy. Like it. When I work on the audit this year, or the TFS, which ties to this, which we'll talk about next. I did talk to the auditor more than once on different things, to make sure it was in there right, or we were transferring money to the interlocal agreement, the interlocal fund that we set up. I asked him specifically what that JV needed to be to make sure it was in there correctly. Things like that to hopefully make sure a lot of these things are here. The building getting done, well, he's like, oh, a lot of these will just go away on their own, is what he was saying. Right. So that is the TFS, or that's the audit, sorry, they're all tying together because they all feel like they all. Things about me. Audit.
So,
I'll move to approve the fiscal year 23 audit report.
second,
Any comments to that? Comments or questions from the public? All those in favor?
All right,
but
So Next up is the CFS trustee financial summary. To approve this, so we need to approve this.
Sorry. Blame me on that.
So this is just the report of the last year, and this report takes a lot of time and it's a lot of work, and sometimes I'm like, this is more headache than it's worth. I will tell you, I shared this with Dale, I was entering everything and there's a validation report at the end and it tells you everything that's wrong. Like fund 101's off this much, fund 110's off this much, like. Your balance sheet doesn't match your revenue and expenditure, so our balance sheet for our fund 101 was off. And it was off almost $500,000. And I was like, that's weird, I'm looking for expenditures, like what did I key in wrong? Can't find anything, can't find anything. I called another clerk and I'm like, something is wrong and I can't find it. Well, the first thing you do is check your revenue that OPI put some in for you. So you check those with your preliminary data budget sheet. Everything matched. And then I just started going through the revenue finally, and our guaranteed tax-based payment in general fund, we get it twice a year, it's just under $1 million. They put it in December, 496,000, and then I'm like, well, there should be another one in June, and there wasn't. And I found the paperwork, it should have been in May, and it wasn't there. So I emailed the county their same report that they emailed to me of all my revenue back to them. And then the sheet from OPI, I'm like, please help. And I sent that Monday morning, they answered yesterday afternoon when I was out. They coded it to NCPS, but not to us. So it didn't make me off because neither one of us had it. And so they did that JP today to get that back to us and made our cash balance not negative. So there are good things that come out of doing this report sometimes. So that just lists balance sheet, revenue, expenditures, some detailed things in the back, not different, like on 115 spending, things like that. So we just need to approve this report so we can submit it to OPI. Thank you, Rob.
I will move to approve the trustee financial summary FY 23 report.
Second.
Any comments or questions from trustees? Public? All those in favor? Aye.
Chair. You don't wait for just a minute.
Of course.
Couple of things, just for the record, Robbie kicks her butt on 3 things throughout the year. She works her tail off all year round, but there's 3 things that are the worst. One is triple payroll in June, that's over. The other is these 2 things, the audit, which seems to last for a year until she starts the next one. And she beats herself up over every little tiny I that's not dotted or T that's not crossed. And it's not because there's missing money or something like that, it's because it went in the wrong column or the wrong cell. We're talking very small errors. Which is really good. And the other is preparation of this TFS. It's a huge undertaking and it's not really exciting to look at. I mean, it's important, it's dull. There's some schools, we have revenue sources from a variety of things. We have something on almost every page. There's some schools where you could scroll through all the pages and they're just blank tables. Nothing in there. They get like 2 or 3 revenue sources and that's it. And they report it and it's fine. But I don't waste your time tonight. I happen to have a TFS for Lolo School in 1908. It fit on this piece of paper. Our reportable revenue was $1,801.44 in that year. About half went to teachers, or the teacher, I think is one. And then the other reports are here. I've got it pulled up and I can share this with you. This is, you can look at this afterwards if you'd like. It's the only really old one that unearthed here at school, but it's pretty cool. And this is what your TFS used to look like.
What year was that?
Yeah. Handwritten, obviously, beautiful penmanship,
What year?
1908. I found this I've had it in my office for a few years, but it's every year when we do this, I think, gosh, should bring that out. And I actually remember this time. I also have our checkbook register from 1906. That's where I found this, so you can see what we were actually paying people each month. This is the check stubs right here. So 1906, 1907, February 1st, 1906 through October.
PRS might fall off.
Oh, February of '08. Teaching 1 month, $100. To Glenn Delay. I was the teacher at the time. So anyway, there's some cool history. I should take a peek at that afterwards if you'd like to. Thank you for indulging me, and another kudos to Robin for her work on this because it's not exciting. It's hard, it's stressful, and she does a great job.
Thank you, Robbie. We very much appreciate your hard work. We will move along to adoption of annual budget funds. One more, okay. So this one's not as hard, this is pretty easy. There's a few budgeted funds, general funds, we're given that amount from OPI calculation with our A and B, from the levy, we did in the past, so we're given that one. Transportation, I do have to calculate that out. Beach didn't send me the actual bill this month, but they sent me like what each piece was going up and how much it was going up, so I did the beach transportation, there's a little bit in there for independent contract. We have to pay parents to bring kids to school, and then some pieces of administration, and then art class walk. So that's there, that one went up a little bit. Tuition, we talk about that one in March. We do our, I still call it Senate Bill 307, but our estimates of increases over the years, so we did increase that one. We found where we could increase it like almost double, or not increasing it double, that's not fair to our taxpayers. But it is $20,000 more than last year. Retirement fund, that one's also calculated with all the salaries and everything and how much you're gonna have to pay into your retirement fund. Adult education, that's another one we talked about in March that we wanted to increase, so we've increased it $5,000. If you don't use those funds, same with transportation stuff, it's allocated back in next year and offsets what your budget is, to offset what's being taxed. We've been getting more, like we've done Lolo, we did quite a few art classes last year. So we're getting more interest in having those adult classes, and we're hoping to keep growing that, so grow that budget. Technology, that's a levy that we have for 54.6 and the balance in the account. Flex fund is just your balance that rolls over. Building reserve, that one, there's a spreadsheet on the OPI website that you go to, and it tells you how much to levy. It does it all for you, calculates out, so you can levy your taxpayers the least, but get the state match at the highest. And then you're building your reserve, so in case we need to, hope we don't have to do much work for this building anytime soon, but you have to do work to pull it out of there. And then our debt service, and that one is keyed in by OPI, and I just have to put our 2 agencies in there of $500 each. So most of these are very comparable to last year. Bill and I talked this morning, and we did a little spreadsheet for mills and costs from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25. So up and down very little. The one that changed the most was debt service, and it went down more than what both Dale and I thought it should. So I looked into that one a little bit, and I don't have an answer for you, but there's $110,000 that's being reappropriated, and that was $110,000 more in revenue that we received than was anticipated. We made sure that Dale was worried because the county makes that payment for us to US Bank. I get one invoice, they get both invoices. So he was worried that a payment was shorted, which I would hope by now we would have heard if that would have happened. So we did make sure that those were paid correctly. We've got $110,000 more in revenue, which is being reallocated, so it's making those mills just a little bit smaller. So next year, that might be up just a little bit because of that. So I estimated those costs out, just so you know, on $100,000 house. I was trying not to make it too messy. So on $100,000 house, they're gonna saved $10.47 this year from last year, so if you're a $500,000. So. I like to see the numbers stay pretty even and. Jump way up. So, that's the budget that I have. For this year.
Thank you, Robbie.
And when I did the retirement account. I did go into my spreadsheet. Hoping that everything would be approved for the cleaning service and. Yeah, very better than me at the end of the summer, so they have a little small salary, but to try to keep that as close and accurate as.
Great, thank you.
We'll move to approve the 24-25 annual budget funds as presented by the district.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from trustees?
anyone else? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, guys.
You know, people, your school's not raising their taxes this year. It's true.
But they always see that when their tax bill goes up, that's what I always hear, that day school is raising our taxes again.
Statistically not true.
Okay, looks like our next item is adult meal prices. I'm gonna let you take this. Bill.
Sure, pretty standard that every August we set the adult meal prices. The Office of Public Instruction uses a calculation that's actually from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to give us the minimums. That minimum is established through a formula to make sure that adult meal prices aren't being supplanted by commodity food. That's why they do it, to make sure that free food is really going to the kids, they're paying for their food. We've always maintained a little bit higher than that because we still think it's a good deal. So we're recommending a lot of 25-cent increase in breakfast and lunch, which would make adult meal prices $5.75 for lunch, $3.75 for breakfast. They also get slightly larger portions, so it makes sense that they cost more than the student lunch.
I'll make a motion to approve the adult meal price of $5.75 and lunch $3.75 breakfast.
Second.
Any comments or questions from trustees?
How much of the clean is it to handle quarters?
Most people just put money on their account.
Okay.
They don't care. Man. Honestly, we have kids. Where they send or something. And that's even more.
Any other comments or questions from trustees? Anyone else? All those in favor? And it looks like we have some certified staff hiring to consider.
One, as I let you know in the update, although we've known this whole time since spring that we were gonna have a snug general fund. We continued to pursue the idea that maybe someday we'd have a live foreign language teacher again. In the past, we've been able to wrap that into a whole FTE, assign other duties, whether it's intervention or library or who knows what, and we don't have that luxury this year. Financially, we can't make this one FTE, but we did get an applicant who was a retired foreign language teacher from another state, still wants to work part-time, so the schedule seemed attractive enough. And based on that, after the interview, we're recommending Enrique Gomez. I think is actually how you say it, but entirely certain. Or this school year in Spanish. Our kids always do so much better when it's a live instructor, no matter what language it is. It's just not that exciting on a laptop. And MTDA is good, but it's not as good as a human teaching with the letters and numbers of whatever language you're learning.
Thank you, Dale.
Who wants to tackle this one?
Not it.
I will make a motion to hire Enrique Gomez as a 0.25 teacher for the 24-25 school year, subject to the terms of the LEA collective bargaining agreement and contingent on satisfactory results from our criminal background check.
Second.
Got a motion in a second. Any comments or questions? from trustees? Public? All those in favor? Okay, extracurricular and co-curricular coaches. Looks like we just have one at the moment.
One addition, you approved a bunch in June, so this isn't our only coaches, but these are since June, would like to recommend Matt Seiden sticker. His basketball coach. He's done that quite a few seasons for us.
I'll move to approve Matt as a coach.
Second,
Any comments or questions from trustees? From the public? All those in favor?
Right?
And then it looks like we have some informational items. Monday, August 26th is our kindergarten open house from 5 to 6:30. Tuesday, the 27th will be the open house for grades 1 through 8. First day of school on Wednesday, the 28th, and no school for Labor Day. Second or Friday, September 27th. Next regular meeting will be September 12th. And having completed our business, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
thanks.
Okay. I could go on for a while.